If you could please face the clerk and raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please be seated.
Good afternoon, sir.
How you doing?
State your full name, please.
Robert Paradise.
And spell your last name for us.
Paradis.
How old are you, sir?
28.
And where did you grow up?
Bristol, Connecticut.
And did you go to school there?
Yes.
Is that elementary and high school?
Middle school and high school.
Middle, okay. And while you were growing up, did you play sports in Bristol?
Yes.
And did you play on any high school teams?
Yes.
What teams did you play on?
Football, basketball, and track.
Okay. And at that time when you were there, did you know an individual by the name of Aaron Hernandez?
Yes.
Okay. And just for the record, do you see him in the courtroom?
Yes.
Could you just point him out and describe what he's wearing?
A suit.
Okay. I'm sorry. Just if you describe his suit.
A suit, blue shirt, dark tie.
Okay. Your Honor, if the record can reflect the witness identifying the defendant.
It's me.
Now, during your high school years, did you become friendly?
Yes.
And after high school, did you go off to college?
Yes.
And during those years, did you remain in touch with the defendant?
Sporadically, yeah.
Okay. Now, directing your attention back to April of 2013, do you recall receiving or having contact with the defendant at that time?
Yes.
And just tell us about that. How did he contact you?
We planned a trip out to Los Angeles.
Okay. And do you recall when that trip was planned for?
April 26th through the 1st.
And how did you travel to Los Angeles?
Airplane first class.
Okay. And when you say airplane first class, where did you fly out of?
Bradley, Hartford.
And who paid for that?
Aaron did.
Okay. And when you flew out to L.A., did anyone meet you at the airport?
Yeah. Aaron did in Bo.
Okay. When you say Bo, who is that?
Fish and his friend.
Okay. When you say Bo, Fish, is that one or two people?
It's one person.
So I'm just going to show you what's been marked. Exhibit 20, you recognize this individual?
Yes.
Who do you recognize him to be?
That's Bo or Fish.
And when they met you at the airport, where did you go from there?
We went back to his condo.
And where was the condo?
I can't really recall. It was on the beach.
Was the town called Hermosa Beach?
Yes.
Okay. And just over the next, how many days did you remain in that in the LA area?
From the 26th through the 1st.
Okay. Just tell us what types of things were you doing during that time?
Just hanging out, going out to eat, a couple bars, typical stuff.
Excuse me. And during that time, was there any marijuana being consumed?
Yes.
Okay. And who was consuming marijuana?
Aaron and Bo.
And how often were they consuming marijuana?
It's pretty frequent. I can't really tell you how often exactly, but
Okay, well, approximately, when you say it's pretty frequent, how frequent?
every couple hours.
Every couple of hours?
Sure.
And how were they ingesting the marijuana?
Smoking.
Okay, was that, you know, whether they were joints or blunts or?
I can't recall exactly what they were, but
Okay. And during that time, when you say every couple of hours, did that continue over the course of those number of days you were there?
yes.
Now, when you indicated some of the things that you were doing, who was paying for either going out or bars or any of that?
Aaron.
Okay. And did you ever see Bo or Fish paying for anything?
No.
Now, at some point in time while you were out there, did anybody borrow your phone?
Yes.
And who was that?
Aaron?
And do you know why he was borrowing your phone?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you know whether he made calls on your phone?
Yeah.
And do you know where the calls were to?
At that time, no.
Okay. Did you later find out?
Yes.
And where were they to?
Florida?
And did you recognize any of the numbers that were being called in Florida?
No, I didn't.
Now, at some point while you were, did you have a planned return?
Yeah, I was going to fly out the first back east.
Okay, and when you first arrived out there, do you know what date the defendant was to return?
It was a day earlier than I.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. At some point, did his date change?
He told me he was flying out a day early, later in the mini vacation.
Okay, and so your date was what?
The first, May?
Was that May 1st?
Yes.
And so what date did he fly out?
April 30th?
Okay, and on that date, did he, what about Bo?
Bo did as well.
So did the two of them leave together
Yes.
on April 30th?
Yes.
And did you remain till the following day
Yes.
and then travel home separate or by yourself?
Correct.
Okay. Now, at that time, what was your phone number?
Do you want me to?
Yes, if you would.
Okay, 860-517-9872.
Okay. And if I could have a moment, Your Honor. And sir, do you recall what date your phone was used by the defendant to call Florida?
I can't recall exactly.
Okay. Approach room. Sir, I'm just going to have you take a look at right there. If you just look at this information along that line, see if that refreshes your memory about the date.
That seems about right, yeah.
Okay, what date was that, sir?
April 27th?
And did the defendant indicate to you who he was calling in Florida?
No.
Now, sometime after your return, were you contacted by somebody?
Yes.
Who were you contacted by?
3 men. Agent Grasso was one of them.
Okay. When you say Agent Grasso, do you know what agency he was from?
I can't recall.
Okay. And what about, you said 3 men?
Yeah.
Do you know the other 2?
I can't recall their names, but
Okay. Do you know what agencies they were from?
one was State Trooper, FBI agent, if I'm not mistaken, and ATF.
Okay. And as a result of them contacting you, did you have a conversation with them?
Yes.
And were there certain, did you then subsequently review your phone records?
Yes.
And was there a number there that, was called on the 27th of April that you did not call?
Yes.
recall what that number was?
I don't know the number exactly.
I wonder if I could approach you again. Sir, I'm just going to show you again this same line. Do you recognize your number here?
Correct.
Okay. And that would be the originating number?
Yes.
And the number called on that date, of April 27?
Yep.
Okay. What is that number?
I don't know that number.
Okay, but that was the number that was reflected on your record.
Right.
Is that true?
Yes.
What is that number, sir?
That's someone else's. I don't know.
I understand that, but can you just read that number?
Oh, I'm sorry. 15617550678.
Okay. So 156175513. I beg your pardon. 15617550678.
Correct.
And I don't know if I could use the overhead, please. So I'm just going to place what's been marked Exhibit 307 on the overhead. So I'm directing your attention to a name contained in this record, Gladwin Ski. Do you know anybody by that name?
I do not.
And does that reflect that number that had appeared on your phone record?
Yes.
I got a moment, Your Honor, please. That's all the question I have,
Good morning, Mr. Paradise.
Good morning.
Mr. Paradise, you've known Aaron since high school, is that right?
Yes.
And you guys played sports together?
Correct.
And you played sports with his older brother DJ too, didn't you?
Yes.
And I think you testified on direct examination that after high school, you kept in sporadic touch with Aaron, is that right?
Correct.
As he went to college in Florida, right?
Yes.
And you went to college up in New Hampshire?
Correct.
And then at some point, Aaron came back to the New England area, didn't he?
Yes.
And had you ever gone down to Florida and visited him there?
No.
But when he came back to New England area, you guys kept in sporadic touch with texts, is that right?
Yes.
And at some point, in I think the 2011 or 12 season, Aaron got you tickets to a Patriots game, is that right?
Correct.
And he gave you 4 tickets, you and your twin brother, correct?
Yes.
And his wife, and you brought a friend?
Mm-hmm.
And that was at Gillette Stadium, is that right?
Correct.
And then you mentioned that in the spring of 2013, Aaron invited you to join him in California, correct?
Correct.
Had you ever been out to California with Aaron before?
Never.
Had you met with Aaron in person before that trip?
Nope.
But Aaron invited you out, and you went. I think you said April 26th, sir?
Yes.
And you flew out there first class, and Aaron paid for your tickets, correct?
Yes.
And Aaron gave you lodging, put you up in the condo that he had in, I think Mr. McCauley said Hermosa Beach, is that right?
Correct.
And while he was out there, when you arrived, he was with another gentleman, correct?
Correct.
And that's the gentleman you identified as Bo, and you also mentioned Fish, is that right?
Correct.
And is that because you heard Aaron refer to him by both names?
Yes.
And was Bo also staying in the Hermosa Beach condo?
Yes.
Was there a gentleman with them by the name of Carlos Ortiz at any time out there?
No.
Now, when you were in California, you were there for a vacation, isn't that right?
Correct.
And that's kind of what the trip turned out to be, isn't it?
Right.
It was a little too cold to go to the beach, right?
Correct.
So you guys, like you said, went out and to restaurants, correct?
Correct.
And bars
Yes.
and some nightclubs.
Yes.
And you didn't spend much time in the condo, correct?
If we weren't out, we were there.
Well, would you say most of your time was out, or most of your time was in the condo?
I'd say 50-50.
Now, Mr. McCauley asked you about some phone calls, and wanted to ask you about that, sir. So, you testified that at some point Aaron asked to borrow your cell phone. Is that right?
Correct.
And he asked to borrow your cell phone because his cell phone had died. Is
Correct.
that right? I'm sorry, sir.
Correct.
And did you actually see Aaron using your cell phone?
Briefly, yes.
And when you testified about calls to Florida, you didn't know anything about any calls to Florida when you were out in California, correct?
When I was out there, no, I didn't know who he was calling.
It was when you looked at your phone bill later on at the request of law enforcement. Isn't that right, sir?
Correct.
That you saw that there were some Florida area codes that you didn't recognize.
Yes.
Do you know whether or not Bo ever used your phone when Aaron had it borrowed from you?
I don't recall him ever taking my phone.
Do you know if Bo ever used the phone after Aaron borrowed it from you?
I don't know that.
And you don't know who Aaron called, do you?
Nope.
And you didn't hear his conversation, did you?
No, I didn't.
Now, the trip lasted about, I think you said 4 or 5 days for you. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
And that was consistent with your plan to go out there for about 4 or 5 days. Is that right?
Correct.
And you returned and flew back to Bradley first class, correct?
Yes.
And after you arrived, you sent Aaron a thank you text, correct?
Yes.
And after that, which was after your return on May 1st, 2013, you didn't have any further contact with Aaron, did you?
Not much.
Okay. Not much?
No, it was just after the thank you text, and that was that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Paradise. Nothing further.
Nothing further. Thank you, sir.
Step down.
If I call, excuse me, Daryl Hodge, please.
This way, sir. face the clerk and raise your right hand?
You solemnly swear your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you state your full name?
Darrell David Hodge.
Okay, and I'm just going to ask you if you wouldn't mind pulling up just a little bit so we all can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. How do you spell your first name?
Darryl,
And how about your last name?
Hodge,
How old are you, sir?
30,
And where did you grow up?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay. And did you go to school there?
John D. O'Brien,
And is that what type of school is that?
School of Mathematics and Science.
Okay, and for what grades?
Started in 7th. It goes all the way to your senior year.
Okay. And during the time that you were going to the John O'Brien School, did you meet an individual by the name of Odin Lloyd?
Correct.
And when did you meet him? How old were you?
I was in 8th. He was in 7th.
Okay. And as a result of meeting him at that time, did you become friends?
Yes, sir.
How long did you remain friends?
Till today.
Okay. And during that time, did you play sports together?
Correct.
And what kind of sports were you involved in?
Football mostly.
Okay. And where did you play?
John D. O'Brien, and also with the Boston Bandits, a little semi-pro.
Okay. So sometime after graduating high school, did you go on to college?
Yes, I did.
And what about Odin?
He did as well, too.
And do you know where he went?
Delaware State or something like that.
Okay. And at some point, did he return back to Boston?
Indeed.
And do you know what caused him to return?
Financial hardships.
Okay. And once he had returned, do you know what he was doing to support himself?
Just normal jobs.
Okay. And at some point, did you, after your college time, did you return to Boston?
Correct.
And did you, the two of you, still see each other?
Correct.
And during that time, did you continue to play football?
Yes, sir.
And you indicated a few moments ago about the Boston Bandits. What is that?
It's a semi-pro. It's like a grown man's Pop Warner League.
Okay. And where did you play?
In Boston.
And what was the season? When did you play?
Season usually starts from July, lasts until like October, late October.
And do you know whether there were, would you have practices or scrimmages in the spring?
In the spring, we'll have a couple of scrimmages if you get them scheduled, because it's a working man's league, as I said prior to. But other than that, we had just games on, well, we had practices on Tuesdays, sometimes twice a week, but last couple of years, it's only been once a week, which is Tuesday nights.
Okay. And taking you back to the spring of 2013, were you playing in the league that year?
Correct.
And what about Odin Lloyd?
He was playing as well.
And how long had you and he played in that league together?
For a while, for years, probably a good amount of years, probably since like 2007, 8.
And what position did you play?
A little bit of everything, corner, receiver, kick return, all the specialty positions.
And what about Odin?
He's a tool as well, long snapper, tight end, wherever we could use him.
Okay. And at that time, would the two of you work out frequently?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of workouts were you doing?
Just a combine of all the workouts we've learned, different football programs and whatnot. We just picked a regiment and stick to it.
Okay. How frequently were you seeing him in the spring of 2013?
Daily.
Okay. And would you also have phone contacts with him?
Correct.
How frequently would those be back in the spring of 2013?
Daily.
Okay. Now, at some point, do you know where he was working in the spring of 2013?
Landscaping, somewhere in like Norwood.
Okay. And do you know how he traveled to and from Norwood to get to his
Bicycle.
landscaping job?
On a bicycle.
Okay. And at that time, would you during the week, how many days out of the week would you see him?
Give and take, 4 and 5, 4 to 5.
Okay. And where would you generally see him?
Ever and anywhere. His home, my home, the gym, practice.
Did you know his family?
Correct.
And you said you've been to his home?
Correct.
How many times?
A lot, frequently.
Okay. Now, at that time, did he have a vehicle?
No.
And you indicated he would travel on his bike?
Correct.
Now, at some point, do you recall directing your attention to Saturday, June 15th of 2013? Do you recall seeing him on that date?
Yeah, we had a scrimmage.
Okay. And on that date, when you said you had a scrimmage, where was the scrimmage played?
At our high school field, which is John D. O'Brien.
And did you see Odin play in the scrimmage that day?
Correct, yeah.
And at some point after the scrimmage, did you see how he was traveling?
Yeah, that day he had a black Suburban.
Okay. And had you ever seen that before?
No.
Now, with regard to an individual by the name of Aaron Hernandez, had you ever seen him with Odin before?
No.
Now, after the scrimmage, did you have further contact with Odin that day?
Not Saturday, no.
Okay. Now, prior to this, did you know whether Odin ever used marijuana?
Correct.
And just in terms of how long had you known him to use marijuana?
I don't know, a couple of years.
Okay. And how frequently would he use marijuana?
I don't know, daily.
Okay. And to the extent that, did you ever know him to deal in marijuana?
No, not really.
Okay. Now, at some point in June, well, let me just back up. So on that Saturday, at some point later in the evening, did you see him?
On Saturday?
Yes, sir.
No, not after the scrimmage, no.
Okay. On Sunday, did you see him?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I did, on Sunday.
And where did you see him next?
Outside of my house, actually. He picked me up after I got out of church. He picked me up. We just hung out on Sunday.
Okay. And when you say he picked you up, what did he pick you up in?
In the Suburban.
Okay. Now, after he picked you up and you hung out, did you hang out most of the day?
Correct.
Okay. And just tell us what you did that day.
He picked me up. I had on like a beach hat, some sunglasses, so he pretty much went home and got his matching apparel. My cousin was throwing some food on the grill, so we went over there, hung out for a little while, played some pool, and just hung out. Just a cool. We didn't have any children, so it was just a cool Father's Day. I guess we just went around and hung out with all our father friends, our friends who had kids.
Okay. And what areas were you hanging out?
In and around the Boston area.
Okay. How many different places did you go to with Odin?
Including his house, my house, 4. His
And
house,
just-
my house, my cousin's house, 3rd house, and then we went to just like a gathering later, like a band launching later.
Okay, when you say a band launching,
It's like a Caribbean event. People come by, have fun, just cool outside, listen to music.
okay, was food being served?
More than likely, yes.
Yes. Now, at some point into the evening, were you still with Odin?
Correct.
And where were you, say now, in the evening hours?
Probably up until I was with him till about 9:15.
Okay. When you say you were with him till around 9, where were you with him last?
When he dropped me off,
Okay, and where did he drop you off?
home.
And prior to that, approximately 9 o'clock in the evening while you were with him, he was dropping you off. Do you recall him getting a text message?
Correct.
Okay, and just tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I got a text message before we had left the band launching place, just saying he had work, because that's what he's pretty much...
Objection sustained.
Okay, but let me ask you this. At around 8:30, thereabouts, were you with him?
Correct.
And at that time, did you see him get a text message?
Correct.
And after he had received a text message, did he state an intention to do something?
To leave the band launching,
Okay. And did he indicate an intention to do something the next day?
to go to work.
Okay. Now, after that, approximately a half hour later, around 9 o'clock, did he get that other text?
Yeah, he got a text around 9 o'clock while he was dropping me off.
Okay. And at this time, did you have an occasion to see his phone?
While we was driving, he passed me his phone.
Okay. And when he passed you the phone, were you able to look at it?
Correct.
And did you see a particular name on the phone?
No, there was not a particular, well, there was a distinct name, yes.
Okay. And what was that?
I'm going to object to hearsay, Ron.
Sustained.
Am I permitted?
There's no question one.
Okay. And did you recognize the name? Just yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, just yes or no, did you have a conversation with him?
Yes.
And did he indicate an intention to do something at that time?
Either go home or go out.
Okay. Now, prior, how long after receiving that text were you with him?
Give and take 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay. And at that time, what happened?
I got out the car, said my farewells, and went inside.
Okay. Now, and so that would be at approximately what time on Sunday?
9:15.
Okay. When is the next time you had any contact with Odin Lloyd?
That was it.
The following day, did somebody call you?
Yeah,
And as a result of that call, did you go somewhere?
correct.
And when you went, where did you go?
I went to his house.
And approximately what time was that?
After 8, around 9.
Okay. And when, was it light or dark out at that time?
It was nighttime.
Okay. And when you got there, did you see anybody you recognized?
His family,
And how many?
his entire family,
Okay.
majority of them,
And did you see anybody else?
the police.
Okay. Now, did you see anything in or around his home in the yard?
Yeah, the black SUV, the black Suburban was still in the driveway.
Okay. And at that time, did you learn something had happened to Odin?
Correct.
And what was that?
Objection is sustained.
Did you learn he was no longer living?
Correct.
Sustained.
Okay. It's okay. When did you learn that something had happened to Odin Lloyd?
I had a call about after 8 from his sister asking me if I had spoken to him for that
Objection
day.
sustained.
Okay. So when did you learn?
Around 8:30.
Okay. And what did you learn about Odin Lloyd?
Objection is sustained.
Could we approach Your Honor, please? Sir, did you see was Odin Lloyd your friend?
Correct.
Okay. Did you see your friend on Monday?
No.
Okay, Tuesday?
No. Tuesday,
Wednesday.
what date? What's the date?
Okay, June 17th,
Objection.
2013?
Can you repeat your question, please?
Yes. Did you see Odin Lloyd on June 17th of 2013?
No.
Okay. Tuesday, the 18th?
No.
Objection.
Wednesday, the
Sustained.
19th?
Sustained.
Okay. Did you ever see him again?
No.
Okay. Have you ever been to a place, a cemetery in Boston?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Move on.
At some point, did you learn that something had happened to him, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. When did you learn that?
Monday, 17th, 2013.
Okay. And approximately what time?
Around between 8:30, 9.
And how long, you indicated you learned that where?
I got a call.
Okay, but where did you, where were you when you learned it?
Oh, I was at home.
Okay. And how, you indicated you went to Odin Lloyd's home?
Correct.
How long did you remain there?
A good while, probably 2 hours, 3 hours.
Okay. And did you ever see other friends coming or going?
Objection, the relevance, Your Honor.
Overruled to this question.
Correct.
Okay. You ever seen Aaron Hernandez at the home?
Overruled.
No.
Okay. Now, after that date, at some point, well, let me ask you this. Did you have an occasion to be with Odin approximately a week before when he showed you something?
Yeah, we hang out every day.
Okay. But at some point, did he show you something that you hadn't seen him with before?
Yes.
What was that?
2 bags full of what we call doobies.
Okay. And do you recall where you were, excuse me, when he showed you that?
Outside of his home.
Okay. And just describe those bags, please.
2 sandwich bags, and they have joints in them, a lot of them, 2 separate bags.
And had you seen Odin Lloyd with any joints in the past?
Yeah, he smokes.
Okay. And what quantity of joints had you seen him in the past?
Not as many as what the bag contained.
And the ones you'd seen him in the past, just describe them in terms of their size or shape.
Pencil size, small.
Okay, when you say pencil size, in terms of the thickness?
Yeah, dude, it went from pencil size to like the big pencil they give a kid to draw.
Okay. Now,
Me?
so I'm just going to show you this. Do you recognize what's depicted here?
Yes,
And what does this depict?
the 2 sandwich bags of doobies,
Okay, and who's in this picture?
myself.
Okay. And how long, in relation to when you had learned something about Odin Lloyd on the 17th, how long before was this photograph taken?
Objection, form of the question, Your Honor.
A date is fine.
Sustained.
How long before June 17, 2013 was this photograph taken?
Couple of days.
I'm going to offer this as the next exhibit.
No objection, Your Honor.
May be marked as the next exhibit.
When was the overhead, Your Honor? So is that the photo I just showed you?
Correct.
Now marked 424. And you indicated that, well, let me ask you this, how many doobies, as you referred to them, were contained in each of those bags?
About like 12, 10 to 12.
Okay. And there's one that is showing that you have in your mouth. Is that right?
No, that's not that didn't belong to that bag, them bags.
Okay, so just, where did that one come from?
That one came from myself.
Okay. In terms of the doobies that you had seen Odin with in the past, were they similar or dissimilar to the one that you have in your mouth?
The one in the past, you said?
Yes, in the past.
Correct. His was similar.
Okay. And on this date, when he showed you these two bags, how were they different, if at all, than what you'd seen in the past?
I mean, they're completely bigger.
Okay, how much bigger?
Twice the size.
Okay.
About 3 times the size.
And what about the quantity of them?
Haven't had that much ever.
Okay. How much was contained in one of those bags, just in terms of quantity?
Give and take, probably like $300 in each bag.
So a total of $600?
In both bags, correct.
Okay. Have you ever seen him with approximately $600 in marijuana?
No.
So I'm just going to show you this picture, and ask you if you recognize it.
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
Doobies rolled by Odin Lloyd.
And at some point, have you seen this picture before?
Correct.
And when did you first see it?
He texted to me.
Okay, when you say he texted it to you, with regard again to June 17, 2013, how long before that date did he text it to you?
This is probably like, give and take 2 weeks, a week or two before.
No objection.
With the Marcus Mix exhibit?
Put this on over here. I'm placing now 425 in the overhead. That's the photo I just showed you. Is that right?
Correct.
And you indicated he had texted this to you approximately 2 weeks prior to the 17th.
Correct.
Sir, just before I leave the overhead, did you recognize the background of where this photo was taken?
No.
And so when you saw him on the date, you indicated some number of days before June 17th with the two bags, did Odin indicate an intention of what he was doing with those bags?
Objection.
Yes, sir.
No.
Okay. I could have one moment, Your Honor, please. And just with regard to the time that you and Odin spent together, did you know him to frequent clubs?
No.
What did he do in his spare time?
He's a homebody. He's usually at home, so he do a lot of going out.
Nothing further, thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hodge.
Good afternoon.
Mr. McCauley asked you some questions about marijuana blunts. If I may, Your Honor, just put that exhibit back on the presenter. Can you see that all right, sir?
Yeah.
Now, that's a picture of you, isn't it, Mr. Hodge?
Correct.
And that picture was taken by Mr. Lloyd?
No.
Who took that picture, sir?
A friend of ours.
Who was that?
A friend.
Who's the friend, sir?
Darryl Sweet.
Was Mr. Lloyd with you when
Correct.
you held those bags up?
Correct.
And is it your understanding, Mr. Hodge, that Odin Lloyd rolled those doobies that are in those bags?
Correct.
Now, Mr. Lloyd, he was very skilled at rolling marijuana blunts, wasn't he?
Correct.
And he had perfected a technique that he used, hadn't he?
Correct.
He used rolling papers called raw.
Correct.
Is that right? And he would roll those in a very precise way. Isn't that right?
Correct.
Now, to do that, Mr. Lloyd needed rolling papers and marijuana and scissors and other things, didn't he?
Correct.
I just want to show you an exhibit. Hold on, exhibit 26. Mr. Hodge. You see that all right, sir?
Correct.
Do you recognize the bag in exhibit 26?
Yeah.
What do you recognize that bag to be, sir?
Odin had one like it.
Now, you were with Mr. Lloyd on Sunday, June 16th, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And you and Darryl Sweet and Odin at sometimes were riding around in that black Suburban you testified about, correct?
Correct.
Do you remember seeing that bag in the black Suburban?
Should have been in there.
Now, you mentioned also, sir, that you didn't know Mr. Lloyd to go out to clubs. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you know an individual by the name of Akil? Akil Joseph?
Yeah, vaguely.
Were you aware, sir, that that Akil is a friend of Mr. Lloyd's?
Correct.
Did you ever hear of a club called Club Unity?
Objection, Your Honor.
Correct.
I'm sorry, sir, there was a cough, and I couldn't hear your answer. Did you ever hear of a club called Club Unity?
Correct.
Where is that club located, sir?
In Boston.
Is that a nightclub, a night spot?
So it's like a cultural spot, cultural place,
It's kind of a,
but not, I wouldn't say nightclub is not downtown Boston.
no, I'm not asking that, sir. It's just, is that a destination people go to at night
Yeah,
for drinks and to socialize?
yes,
Did you ever hear of a club called Rumor in downtown Boston?
correct,
And you were close friends with Mr. Lloyd, correct?
correct.
Are you aware of Mr. Lloyd's trips to Club Rumor?
No,
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. No further questions.
Just briefly, Unity, just describe that club.
it's like a tavern. It's like the police barracks, like police troopers go somewhere, hang out after work. That's what Unity is for West Indian people. Like, they go hang out, you could play pools, play cards. I don't know, it's like a tavern.
Okay,
It's not a club.
Is it predominantly a West Indian?
Pretty much, yeah. You could throw
Patrons?
functions there, you could do like culture stuff, family stuff, like events, activities.
Thank you, nothing further.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
You may step down. Summary of counsel before the next witness is called to the stand, so we're going to take a short recess. Please don't discuss the case among yourselves within minutes.
All right.
Frank, can you assist your motion?
I'll address my motion, all right. I'm not sure exactly what Mr. McCauley or Mr. Husky is planning to do with Trooper DeMont. We have been given a slideshow that contains, that I've attached to the motion, that contains a number of videos that we've already seen, and I don't think they should be allowed to play videos again. It includes recreating the route of travel, and we've already had Detective Ciccio testifying about that. It the third slide, for instance, includes a highlighted version of the South Street Cafe receipt, which appears to focus on the opening and closing times, which we've seen numerous times. There's, on the fourth slide, there's metadata for the photograph at the South Street Cafe. It looks like this is essentially a advocacy piece, a closing argument, rather than something that summarizes or explains voluminous documents to the jury, as we saw with Agent Perry. So I would object to the use. Just going through it again, it also has cell tower information. We've seen these photographs of the cell towers before. We've seen these phone records with respect to the cell towers before. So I think it's cumulative. It's not proper use of a summary witness, and I think it's objectionable.
Thank you.
Your Honor was intending to go through certain distances, times that relate to Boston. He was the officer who was involved in the recovery of some of those videos, and to the extent that there were different routes or routes driven at different speeds, I would ask him about that, which related the route back to North Attleboro as well down to Providence. And I don't think that's been covered, and particularly not in the detail that this witness is able to
He's
do.
going to testify as to recovery of videos and his driving and speeds of driving.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else with respect to testimony before we get to the slides? Topics of testimony.
No, it's all, location driven and distance and time of travel.
And then, is it your plan to use each one of these slides?
Not each one, Your Honor, but to the extent that there are some exhibits, excuse me, in the map form that I might use
Right.
in lieu of some of the other ones, but to the extent that it would be necessary to...
Right. To the extent the motion is seeking to preclude him from testifying at all, that's denied. I will allow him to testify with respect to his capturing the videos or obtaining the videos. It is, to the extent he talks about doing the route, it is duplicative, but my recollection was there was a fairly vigorous cross-examination of that witness as to the whether they may have slowed down or sped up so their times would match the times that they anticipated getting. So I think it's fair to have a second witness who drove that route, or either as the driver or in the car, to testify as to the speed they were going. I would not allow they contain commentary really on the evidence, the car arriving, whether it's a car arriving or whether there's a car seen, there's a car passing at 3:27. That's really up to the jury to see whether there was or wasn't a car passing. So all of these that have sort of commentaries I would not allow, and would car passing at 3:27. That's really up to the jury to see whether there was or wasn't a car passing. So all of these that have sort of commentaries, I would not allow, and would, I think that he can go through what he did and where he did it without us going back on a lot of the videos, but if he wants to, I won't prohibit him from commenting that they went by X or Y cell tower. But I think the pictures, there's some of these slides that put a gas receipt together, two different exhibits together. I think that I would, or two different, from different exhibits, that kind of narrative of putting the exhibits together. For this witness, I would not permit, but other ones, the picture of the Weston tolls, if he wants to say he went through the tolls, and this is what the, you know, the timing of the tolls, and this is what the tolls looked like. But to the extent it's commentary and it's referring to a call from this time to this time for these 25 seconds, combining it with, or Hernandez and Shiana arrive, that's, those are all jury issues as to who's being seen in the clip at any time. And I note as well, the time is different from the descriptive time is different from the system time, which depends on whether the jury does or doesn't accept the testimony with respect to the time delay. But since it's not clear which slide is being used, I'll wait to see which slide the Commonwealth proposes to use, if any, during his testimony. So we can bring the juries back.
Could we just have 5 minutes, maybe we can just...
Sure, go over together. Sure. Hold on. 5 minutes, 5 minutes on this clock, 12:30.